Hello, my name's Tracy Ring. I'm a vice president at Deloitte Consulting, and I'm really excited to introduce our Women in Data initiative. We launched our initiative in May of this year and had an amazing group of 25 women that were nominated across our clients for exemplary performance, people that were really embracing technology, and the women that we felt were the future leaders of tomorrow. And as someone who's really passionate about the office of the Chief Data Officer, I think all these women will be fantastic chief data officers of the future. The idea behind the next phase of the program was really to continue the momentum and continue the discussion. And I think discourse is one of the most powerful things that women have as the tools that we can use to advance our career. So with that, we decided to distribute a book, Geek, Rising, to the cohort of women and a number of other leaders that are really influential and do this fantastic video cast. So today I'm honored to be joined by Lindsey, who's going to go ahead and introduce herself. Lindsey?
Sure, thank you so much. Lindsey Berckman. I'm a senior manager at Deloitte. I focus primarily on supply chain and manufacturing operations. And as you can imagine, as we get into this new world, new technology left and right, there's tons of data that's at the table. So how do we take advantage of all of the data that's coming off of machines, that's part of our product line, that we could use in the aftermarket space, and use that to our advantage to build better solutions and ultimately improve the bottom line? That's just one of the practical applications I focus on from a data perspective.
Awesome. Well, I'm so glad you were able to read Geek Girl Rising, Inside the Sisterhood, Shaking Up Tech. And Andrew Pinkowitz is going to join us and moderate a discussion. We're going to chat a little bit about some topics that I think are more than timely and hopefully a great conversation. So Andrew, I'll hand it over.
Thanks, Tracy, and very happy to be here. So let's kick this off. So Tracy, you and I have talked about this book and the topics that you'd like to cover today. So the first one are its career impacts. Many of the women in the book talked about the conscious and unconscious biases that have affected their careers. So what are some ways, conscious or unconscious, that these biases have impacted your careers?
Yeah, I think it's interesting to think about the things that are both subtle and quite obvious. And I think some of them, I think we really, really concentrate on all of the negatives, but there are amazing biases that I think are also really positive that are for women. And while I can think of a million small things, I think that one of the things that I'm really, really passionate about is roles that really require a lot of change management or integration across disparate groups, or maybe pulling in a large ERP system or analytics system. I think one of the things that women are sort of notorious for is integrating across groups and bringing people together and driving collaboration. And I think the more that we can concentrate on the positive aspects that women uniquely bring to the table that are just absolutely exceptional are something that I think that we can really just hold, in our hearts as something that really differentiates us in the workplace and in our personal lives.
Absolutely. So the Work-Life Warriors chapter looks at how the workplace is changing to meet the needs of a new millennial workforce. So what benefits and policies do you think are needed to accommodate younger workers today? And do you think those benefits are being implemented?
Yeah, well, I'm not a millennial, and I think, certainly wish that I was. But I don't know, Lindsey, I see that, even inside Deloitte, we've gone through a dramatic change the way that we manage, grow, and recruit. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm technically an old millennial. I'm at the top end of the spectrum, but would still qualify. And just to your point, Tracy, we've done a lot of work to figure out what are different types of career models, what are different pathways so that people can explore more and take different stepping stones within their career, which I think is really powerful. What I would say is we have the opportunity, especially with something like data science and data analytics, to explore and try different projects. I would say in my career, I've been at Deloitte for 11 years, but I've also feel like I've had thousands of jobs in a good way, in the sense I've learned each and every time. I've been able to dive into new problems. I've been able to see new clients. And I think when we take the game of data, right? And we think about all that's out there. We're able to apply skills and knowledge from one place to the next. We really get to explore a very rich landscape and just different projects that we can bring value and drive value for our clients. So in some ways, it taps into the millennial point of view of I want to do work that's impactful. I want to do work that's meaningful and exciting to me. And I also don't want to do that work time and time again for 30 years unending, right? So we got to figure out ways to make that story kind of build and grow with each other.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Sometimes our clients come to us with these really, really difficult problems that, they're seemingly unsolvable. And every once in a while, I'll be on a project with someone that they'll come to me and say, hey, did you know that there's this data source that we can leverage and do some matching up? Or, I still remember the first time someone suggested that we overlay Google traffic patterns onto a healthcare provider's map of where their clients lived and what the impact of how far they had to drive was. And it was like a total light bulb moment and something that, someone who I'm going to make up was probably a millennial and thought about something in a completely new way. And so I think that data is phenomenally impactful and really kind of part and parcel. I think growing up in a generation where we certainly didn't have as much access to data, the variety is just in some ways overwhelming, and it's great to be in a position to sort of see us really embracing that, not only for the way that we hire, but also the way that we deliver.
So the authors of this book made a very deliberate editorial choice to broaden the group of women they interviewed beyond technologists, developers, and computer software engineers, because they wanted to also talk to women in digital marketing, female investors backing tech startups, and other roles like that. So what do you think about this decision? Do you think including this broader group offers more accurate of a portrait of the experience of women in data fields?
100%. Speaking for myself, data is going to drive every piece of the world, right? Whether it's into this sense of you're coding and creating computer science programs, or you're solving really practical business applications out there in the market, be it finance, healthcare, manufacturing, any of the above, right? So it's we need women in all of those fields, first of all. They're going to come with data backgrounds, they're going to come with engineering backgrounds and other types of science and math. And the more that we can be proponents of that and figure out ways to start a dialogue around how different experiences and different data sources can give us new insights, that's when we're all the more powerful.
Definitely. And now,
I agree.
go ahead, Tracy.
Yeah, I would say thematically, I like it just from the perspective that it drives the idea that diversity and inclusion is at the core of everything. And there's no reason to artificially limit the content of the book or the content of the spectrum of what we consider data and analytics. And just to kind of pile on to what Lindsey said, I love thematically inclusion and just widening the aperture as much as we can in every aspect that we can.
So how has the definition of geek changed over the years, in your view? Has the connotation become more positive or less positive?
I'd say more.
More positive?
Yeah, I would. And I'm curious your thought on this, Tracy. But in my point of view, I sometimes introduce myself as a nerd, and I like that, right? In the sense of I am proud of that more scientific and technical background and how I can roll it. One of my favorite things to do is have somebody mistaken me for not an engineer. But being able to surprise them in that fact, I think, is always a good thing. So it is something to embrace and really change the lens on, and being nerdy is not bad in some cases.
Do you agree, Tracy?
I would agree. I mean, if you just even think about what we see in sort of the media and the traditional sitcoms have shifted so much to never thought that we'd be watching TV shows about gamers or Silicon Valley startups. And, that's where I spend my Sunday night is catching up on those shows. So I think it's cool. And I think that in some ways it was always sort of cool in its own way, but it's really kind of come into its own to be geeky and to grow that. One of the things that we do together with Deloitte is work with Stanford's science and engineering program. And the idea that that program has grown dramatically over the years and they reach 150,000 women on average a year, like that's a number that when I was in high school or college is astonishing. So it's an awesome shift.
The one other piece I'd add is you can be geeky and girly or not, right? You don't have to make that you don't have to distinguish anymore. You have those options to really be your own person. And whether that means, when I was younger, I was both a dancer and an engineer. So those are things you can do, right? And you can merge those different sides of your personality. So
excellent. And before we close, what advice would you offer your daughters or the next generation of women for succeeding at work, whether it's in tech or in other industries?
So I really firmly believe in something that is something that it's interesting. When I started my career, everyone said, every good CEO has his cabinet of friends and trusted advisors that he can go to for advice. And I think for me, the biggest thing is building out your core group of advisors. And that can be people that advise you on, how to handle, home life and childcare and navigating, being a new mother, or whether that's how to strategically get a better seat at the boardroom. I think that having a group that you can really rely on to guide you and get a diversity of opinions, and support you in your career. I think that is where you can not only get sort of a really well-rounded view of how to approach something that might seem overwhelming, but I think also that feeling of support and knowing that other people have been there and that you can leverage what they've done, I think is the most powerful thing. And I'm very, very grateful that early in my career, I started to develop a group of mentors and people that I just considered that I could just use them as examples of what I wanted to be. And it changed throughout my career. And certainly as I get more senior in my career, that group has changed. And I find myself adding so many people that were former counselees of mine and that I'm learning so much from them. So I think that group of advisors that you can trust and learn from is critical.
And I would say do work you love with people you love. So find something that's really going to make you passionate about going to work every morning. Unfortunately, we have to work for years on end. So figuring out how to make the most of that time, solving problems that you find challenging, that you find exciting, is going to make it all the more worth it. And especially if you're lucky enough to find people that you want to do that work with, then you have the perfect combination.
Right. Spend a lot of time at work. Might as well enjoy it. So those are all the questions I have for today. Tracy, thanks so much for allowing me to facilitate, and I'll hand it back over to you to wrap up.
Thank you. I think this was so interesting and a great initial conversation. The only thing I would close with is the idea that, taking time to read a book and investing in our own future and personal development is one of the most important things that we can do. And if you haven't had a chance to read Geek Girl Rising, I think it's a great read. If you stay with us, we are going to start a new book starting next week. So stay tuned on that, and really glad to have you. Andrew and Lindsey, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me today.
Bye-bye.